Well, hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Amazing Seller Podcast. This is episode number 419, and today I am excited because, I've got something that I want you guys to listen to. I say this is a must listen because you're going to actually hear how someone took a failing business, and I'm going to explain, and he's going to explain how this happened, and kind of how he was at the bottom of like where you could be in business, like failing business, brick and mortar, and how he was able to turn that into a huge success and also landing a Super Bowl commercial a few years back. Now, the company that I'm talking about is called now Death Wish Coffee, because I say now because it wasn't originally called that. He started this business as a coffee shop, and he created the brand from the requests of some of his customers. But the business was failing. It was failing pretty badly, and he was thinking about even closing shop, and he's going to talk all about that. If I didn't mention his name is Mike Brown, and I met him through a mutual friend, Jeff Cohen from Seller Labs. He introduced me to Mike, and it's funny because I knew that, this company, Death Wish Coffee, had this big Super Bowl commercial when I was living in New York. Now, he's from New York, still from New York, and the funny thing is he was only about 2 to 3 miles away from where I used to live. Couldn't believe it. And didn't even know this. I mean, I knew he was local, but I didn't know he was that close. And the news was buzzing around this time when they were going to possibly be on the Super Bowl, win a free commercial. They ended up winning, and our whole community was just buzzing. And now I get the chance to actually interview him, and we get to talk all about those lessons learned. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to learn so much by just listening to his story. I think you're going to be inspired. I think you're going to be motivated. And I think you're going to see that there's so many different twists and turns that happen in business. And I want you guys listening right now to also go back and start to think about things that you've done in the past with your story and see how you've grown through that story. And that's really the big thing that I always take away from anyone that I interview is it's not all, it's like you don't just start something and it's just always success. There's failures along the way, but there's learning lessons along the way. There's growth along the way. And I actually look at that as profit in just a different type of currency. It's not like currency that you can actually cash in the bank, although you could once you apply them to other parts of your business or a new venture or whatever. But you're going to hear that everything wasn't perfect and still not perfect, but he's grown a very, very large, successful company. He's been on, I believe it was Good Morning America. He'll let us know that. And then from there, sales blew up. But, from there, he couldn't fulfill the orders. So then guess what? Amazon kicked him off. eBay kicked him off. And then he had to go back and kind of figure out how to get back on, and he'll talk all about that stuff. But you'll see there's growing pains from being successful that you have to learn from, you have to adapt to. But I think you guys are going to really, really enjoy this interview. So I'm going to stop talking now so you can listen to this interview that I did with Mike. You're going to hear all the ins and the outs, all the ups and downs. And I really just am curious about his story. So you're going to hear that casual conversation, as always, of just him and I sitting around having that cup of Death Wish coffee. So guys, sit back, relax, enjoy this interview with Mike Brown. Well, hey, Mike, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Scott. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool that I finally got a chance to talk to you. And I know I talked to you a little bit before we got going here, but we were actually neighbors, like really close neighbors. I lived in Round Lake, Ballston Lake, and you're from that area. So pretty crazy, pretty small world, right?
Absolutely. This town is only about 2 square miles, I think. So
yeah, no, it's crazy. And it's funny whenever I hear someone, they're like, well, where are you from? I'm usually like, well, outside of Albany, upstate New York. And they're like, oh, whereabouts? And I'm like, well, if you've ever been to like Saratoga or Lake, oh yeah, I've been to Saratoga. And I'm like, all right, cool. You know where I am then. Because a lot of people are like, you're in like the city, you're in like New York, and nothing against the city, but there's a different, it's a totally different place. The city, and then you have upstate New York. So
100% different.
yeah. And we were just talking briefly a little bit too. I mean, the school that I graduated, and you know exactly where that is. And it's just funny. You grew up there. I grew up there. So It's funny, but let's go ahead and maybe give people a little bit of a background as far as, who Mike is and kind of this company that you created, which is a pretty awesome company that I want to definitely dig into. So maybe give us just a little bit of a background on you and kind of how you got into this space.
Yeah, so I mean, I had an accounting background before I moved into online selling, but I didn't love it. I worked for the state of New York for a little bit, and then from there I took a year off, hung out in coffee shops, and thought, hey, maybe I could run a coffee shop. And I did actually. I did for about, I still own it now, but I ran it into the ground for probably the first 4 or 5 years, and I wasn't very good at it. Brick and mortar businesses are tough. It's a lot of overhead, a lot of expenses.
Oh yeah.
If you're not watching your expenses, I guess that's another story. But
yeah.
From there, after I wasn't doing so well, I decided to try my luck with online selling based on a recommendation from one of my customers. He tried this coffee that I put together that was, what I considered, the strongest coffee in my shop at the time. And, he loved it. And he's like, wow, you got to sell this online. So I at that point, I needed the extra money. And I started reading a lot of books, figuring out how to sell online and if I could even do it. It's funny, at the time, I had this coffee and I'm like, can I just make up my own product and sell it online? It was a weird concept.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. I came up with the concept. I came up with I had the product already. I didn't have any of the packaging or anything, but I just sat down and created a website one day. I think I used Weebly at the time.
Weebly, yeah.
It was, looking back on it, my employees will go use the Wayback Machine.
Oh yeah.
And take a look at the website, and they just laugh at me because it was awful. But it converted well, actually.
That's funny.
And
so at this point though, Mike, so okay, you're totally going at this thing I'm just gonna go ahead and create this coffee. Someone in my store, a couple people in my store, maybe many people, I don't know, they love this blend that you put together. And was it really a blend of some kind? Were you taking a few different types of beans and putting them together? How did that whole thing come up? Or were you making it for yourself? Or were you just experimenting? I'm trying to figure out how you even came up with that idea.
Oh yeah, my customers they kept asking me for my strongest cup of coffee. Every morning they'd come in and be like, hey, Mike, give me a cup of your strongest stuff. I got a lot of work to do today. And I was like,
okay.
All right. So I'd always pull them the espresso roast, or I'd pull them we had another coffee called Jockey Joe, which was a lighter blend, but it also had, a decent amount of caffeine. Mm-hmm. So there was a little bit of a conundrum there where sometimes the lighter roast had more caffeine, but sometimes people were just looking for that strong flavor.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, forget it. I'll just put together, a coffee that tastes strong and has a lot of caffeine in it.
Sure.
And
they liked it.
They loved it. Yeah, they loved it. And I tried it. I was actually, at the time, I was living behind my mom's garage, and I was putting this together, and I finally got it right because I knew it, because I took a taste of it, and my jaw almost locked up. It was so strong. I'm like, wow.
Really?
And I was using this little $5 coffee maker to make this, and this sludge came out, and it tasted great. It really did. It tasted great, and I was wired all day long.
Nice. Okay. So you were kind of in the laboratory, right? You're making this stuff,
yeah.
Putting these different ingredients together, and then all of a sudden you're like, I think I'm into something. You try, people tried it, they liked it. Hey, keep giving me this coffee, and then you start thinking, I'm going to maybe sell this stuff online. Maybe that's the way to do it. It's going to be scalable, more scalable than if you were in a brick and mortar opening up a whole bunch of stores.
Yeah, I don't think I thought that far ahead at the point. My goal was if I could earn an extra $5,000. I think a month or a year, I would be able to pay off some bills that were really starting to pile up at the coffee shop.
Okay.
So I had very modest goals at the time. And I didn't even know if I'd be able to sell a bag. It was just kind of put it out there and pray. I actually ended up running some Facebook ads to get my first sale. This is back in 2011.
Oh, wow.
And somebody bought a bag, and I was like, wow. I'm like, what am I going to do now? I'm like, I got to send this coffee out. And I had to go. I went to Staples, and I bought label making software to make the actual labels. And I had some blank coffee bags, and, I put it together, sent it out, and, I got a good review. He left me a very positive review. So I took that review, I put it right on the website as a testimonial. And not long later, I sold another bag. And, it was just slow going at first. It was one bag a week. 2 bags a week, 3 bags a week. And then finally I'm selling like a bag a day. And I'm like, wow, this is really, it has some, I could see the growth, it's small scale, but I could see the growth. I'm like, wow, this has potential. And people are getting excited about it. When I started social media accounts, and I finally hired one of my baristas to come in. I'm like, just post on social media all day, interact with our customers, make sure they're happy, and send out letters to bloggers and news reporters and anyone you could find online who might possibly want to try the coffee, and leave a review to their audience. So I was trying to find those gatekeepers at the time that had those big audiences, and it worked out. And that was kind of before influencer marketing. Really,
I was going to say, you having this idea, I think that's brilliant. So were you just like looking at any type of platform out there that was just coffee drinkers, like those types of people, or were there other?
I wasn't even looking for coffee. I was just kind of looking for almost like the BuzzFeed type news articles where they found like new and clever items, like cool material.
Okay.
Like those type of blogs where there's like new products entering the market.
Gotcha.
Which are a little different, and that's where we kind of made our, made our first big step is in that area.
Okay.
And then Good Morning America called us in 2013. And this is after we were around for a couple of years, but still at the time we were only selling, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds a day.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, we heard about your coffee. Want to come up and do a report on you and interview you and check out your shop? So I was like, wow. I'm like, yeah, definitely come up. I'm like, when do you want to come? And they said, well, we'll be there in 4 hours. So I was like, 4 hours. I'm like, so I closed my shop. I kicked everyone out and I cleaned the place. They ended up coming up and interviewing me all day. And they took coffee back with them. And the next morning they opened up Good Morning America, drinking Death Wish coffee and telling the world like it was a great product.
Wow.
So, and at the time we were selling on Amazon and eBay because we were 2 years in. But like I said, we were very low volume sellers. And it was like overnight, our sales went from, maybe 10 bags a day to like all of a sudden thousands of pounds in one day.
Oh my gosh. So, what were you thinking at this point? Like, were you number one? Okay, you get that call from Good Morning America. That's got to be like mind blowing too. Like, it
was scary. I almost said no. I almost said like no, I'm not prepared because, even though I recognized the opportunity, but it was like I don't know. There's a little bit of fear there.
Sure. You don't know what to expect, right? You're thinking to yourself like, okay, I'm managing like selling what we have, and I could do more, but not like as much as maybe they can give me. You have no idea if you're going to be able to even handle those orders that are going to come through.
And we couldn't.
I want to hear about that. But let me go back. So quickly, where did the name come from? Did you just all of a sudden just come up with the name, or were you kind of going back and forth, or like where did that come from?
So I had the logo idea in my head. I wanted it to look like a bag of poison, like up on a shelf in somebody's kitchen, and I could picture my brain like somebody walking through. I actually saw it happen the other day. We were at just yesterday. I was at a family reunion, and there was a bag of my coffee up on the shelf in the kitchen, and this guy walks in who I think was a friend of the family. I didn't really know him, and the Death Wish bag caught his eye. He went over, picked it up, looked at it, turned it around. He read the warning label on the back. Nice. He walks out to his friends. He's like, "Yo, check out this." And I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I was picturing 4 years ago when I was trying to design this bag.
Oh wow!
Just something eye-catchy and a little different up on the shelf where people would be like, show their friends and have a laugh and talk about it.
Oh, that's awesome. So you got to see it firsthand. Like you can hear about it, but you actually got to see it in real time.
I actually saw it yesterday. It was pretty wild.
That is pretty cool. That is cool.
But yeah, the name came from. So I had the idea in mind, but I didn't have a name for it, and I didn't know what to call it. But I was actually. This is going to sound silly, but when I was making the website, I was actually drinking Four Loko. I don't know if you remember those Four Lokos. They're like those alcoholic energy drinks, and I had a koozie on there, a cup koozie that my girlfriend had given me. It had a picture of a mean dog on it, and underneath it said Death Wish. And she had got that as a souvenir for me down in Florida or something.
Okay.
So I was just like, wow, this name fits perfectly with this brand, and That's how I got it. I wish it was a better story.
No, that's great. I mean, I just love to see how it comes. I mean, a lot of people, they'll sit there and they'll rack their brains for months, thinking about like what's going to be the best name, but it all came together for you, right from the beginning of what you had envisioned, but then all of a sudden the name just kind of called out to you. I think that's interesting to see how that happens. That's really cool.
I was inspired by it. I was inspired by that name, and
it's cool, and it's worked well for you, and I think it's definitely got that edge appeal. You know what I mean? Like you said, like the guy coming in and going, "Hey, check this stuff out. You got to see this stuff. This stuff will kill you." It's like, exactly. I could see a guy saying that to his buddies, and that's exactly what you were going for. So that's cool. Now, Good Morning America, they do the whole spot. That you get on the show. Is it instant that the orders start to flood in?
Instant. It was instant. It was like it happened as soon as it went live, and then like I think the show goes off at two or three different time zones. Mm-hmm. Or we had a few different like peaks, and we were watching the sales roll in, and it was just so exciting because at the time I was so broke and I had no money, and I see my PayPal account just tickering up. And I'm like, okay, now I can pay this bill. Now I can pay this bill.
Oh, wow.
And I can call these creditors and tell them like, square away with them.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
But as it's all happening, I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to fulfill all this. I'm like, I should, like, the rational part of me is like, I should shut this off,
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say the greedy side, but the side that was like, I can't shut it off. I don't want to kill a good thing, and I don't want to. I have, this could be it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I think you're thinking that. I don't think really greedy. I think it's more of like you don't want to lose that momentum that's coming in, and then you being able to capitalize on it after the fact, and kind of like, all right, let the orders flood in, and I'll figure out how to fill them later.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I have to tell people they got to wait a few weeks, then I got to, at least I'll communicate with them and just keep them on board with what's going on.
Yeah, that's what we did. That's what we tried to do. We ended up fulfilling all the orders. Some took like upwards of 30 days. Mm-hmm. It was only me and my ex barista Megan working at the time. So we were pulling customers out of my coffee shop to come work for me to fulfill these orders.
Wow.
Yeah,
and where were you manufacturing like all of the bagging and all that stuff?
We were working with third-party roasters in the area locally to help us fulfill these orders. And the bags we were getting, we were just getting them online from like a bag company and printing labels, and it was
wow.
Thinking back on it, it was so funny because we were doing everything basically wrong in a slow way. But we learned a lot. We learned a ton during that time. And
I bet you did.
Afterwards, we were able to. Well, actually, right after it's all over, we got kicked off Amazon, we got kicked off eBay, and everyone I brought down at the time, from my coffee shop who was working for me now, I'm like, all right, guys, like, what are we gonna do here? We can keep this thing going, but if we're gonna do that, we need to make a lot of changes. So everyone wanted to keep it going, so I'm like, all right, let's do this. So we started, we sat down with a piece of paper, figured out how we're gonna make this thing scalable for the future, and we started working with a 3PL. We started working with, we started making relationships with more coffee roasters. We ended up buying an actual warehouse, renting a warehouse where we could like actually work out of, because at that point we were still in the basement of my coffee shop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. So, all right. So that plan that you laid out, let's talk about that. I think people would be interested into hearing, like, okay, you're at this point now, you're like, this is great, but we just got kicked off Amazon, we get kicked off eBay. Well, why did you get kicked off of those, by the way? Curious.
Just because we weren't fulfilling fast enough.
Okay.
Yeah, and people get mad when they don't get their coffee yesterday.
Oh yeah. No, that makes sense. I don't
blame them. I would have complained too.
Yeah, it's part of the game, but. So then, you got to get reinstated. That shouldn't have been that big of a deal, I'm sure. But
no, it wasn't. We just had to, write them a letter, tell them exactly what our plan was going forward, and we had a pretty solid plan.
Yeah. So the plan that you pencil in, right, or that you guys kind of mapped out here, Like, what did that look like? I mean, you don't have to give us the, nitty gritty, but like,
I mean, yeah, it's gonna probably bore most people, but at the time we were so new to selling in the online space, we didn't have basic systems set up. So, for example, when we were printing out our whole order, our shipping, we didn't like print in bulk our shipping labels. So we'd print out our PayPal order, we'd print out a page, and then we'd go through the PayPal one at a time, and we'd print out like shipping postage.
Okay.
And it was so slow. So I think we started working with ShipStation, and we learned about how we could use Andisha with ShipStation to do bulk printing, which was pretty easy once we figured it out.
So really figuring out more of the logistics and processes and all of that stuff is really like, you're like, all right, if we're going to do this, we got to be able to work smarter,
right?
And make this stuff happen.
Labels on bags. We had like actual printed Death Wish bags printed, so we didn't have to sit there and sticker every bag,
right?
And getting the correct size boxes and.
No, that's great. I mean,
like silly things, but. Yeah, but it's important stuff.
Yeah, it's important stuff, but I think, people think that you got to have this master plan of like, like what was the big thing? And yours was just like, okay, we've proven the concept, right? We did it really like in a down and dirty way, or like nothing fancy. Mm-hmm. And then we figured out, okay, if we're going to scale this thing, we're going to have to, number one, we're going to have to figure out how to make it flow easier. And then I'm sure the marketing side of things is going to be like, all right, how do we get more awareness? Because how long did the Good Morning America thing kind of last?
For a while. I mean, for at least it lasted for about, because right after that it didn't stop. I mean, I was doing an interview. It seemed like every hour for the next 2 days, whether it was on like NPR or on other blogs, news channels. It lasted for a while, where we had like a pretty big wave going, and it was wild thinking back, but.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think that was, at the same time I was thinking, do I stop doing these? Like, I'm just kind of burying myself deeper and deeper and deeper. But no, I didn't. I just kept going. I figured, you live once.
Yeah, right. You might as well go all in, right?
This might be my 5 minutes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but I mean, honestly though, like you going on there and sharing that, I'm sure, like you said, that's going to spike orders. Like, I'm sure people listening to this podcast are going to, now that might not have heard of Death Wish coffee, are going to look it up and probably buy some. You know what I mean? It's just it's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's kind of like the ripple effect, right? It's kind of like, one thing kind of got it going, but then all of these little things that you do, then you share your story, and then people, I think the story is the big thing. And I always tell people, I mean, we talk about, just e-commerce in general, but when you can wrap a story in it, how much of your story do you wrap into your brand right now for like people that come to you? Like, or come to your site for the first time. And I kind of know this a little bit. I want you to kind of explain it, because I've already looked at your website and stuff. But
yeah, I mean, it's not like front and center, but I mean, we do have like meet the team side. I think we used to be a little bit better at selling the story on previous versions of our website. Now I think it's less. Prevalent, but I mean. It's definitely there in our blog and in our About Us page, and it's in there about. We have a podcast now that we run.
Yeah, I heard about that. I want to hear about that too. I think it was Jeff that was telling me that, Jeff Cohen, who actually introduced us to each other. But I want to hear about that after too, before we do jump off. I just want to dig into that a little bit, because
sure.
I mean, some people would say like, how do you make a podcast about coffee drinking, right?
Right.
You would say, and I love the story, because Jeff kind of shared a little bit, but I want to hear your story on it. That's very interesting to do that. But I mean, so like you have a story. Your story is amazing, and I think people would really resonate with that. Even just the people that come to your brand, because you're a guy that just kind of. Was working out of your basement in a sense, right? And then you built this company, and you did it because you wanted, your customers were asking for it, and then you kind of gave them what they wanted, and then it just kind of blossomed into this really cool story. But also, I've also noticed that I think with Death Wish Coffee, it's more like, it's almost like your own culture now. Like, you almost have your own. your own brand of people that are loyal, like coffee drinkers that are, like they can wear, they can wear the t-shirts and the hats and they're part of your tribe, right?
Yeah, it's this brand really fits into a lot of people's identity, and I didn't really know this going in. It wasn't my plan. It's just I thought it was cool. It like made sense to me, and I just I almost built a brand for myself, like something that I could really resonate with and get behind, just to keep myself having fun and be motivated. But as I quickly learned, like a lot of people were going crazy over it. They loved like I don't know that like strong skull and crossbones as a logo, and kind of what it stood for. It's like not wimpy coffee. It's not your third wave coffee. It's the working man's coffee. It's the, I got to get a ton of stuff done today coffee. And yeah, all of a sudden, we start building this loyal following, and I'm hiring people that resonated with the brand as well. So they're like great brand ambassadors for the company. And I mean, all of a sudden, we have like a Facebook group of that we don't run, that our customers and our fans, they've created themselves, and they have this whole community where I don't know, they come down once a day. Somebody comes in from the fan page or the community page, and we'll spend like some time with them. And these guys have like got Death Wish tattoos, and
that's crazy.
They got Death Wish shirts. They're making their own merchandise. They're buying our merchandise. They collect all our mugs. They have some of these guys have a much larger mug collection than I do, just because they bought everything. And it's a testament, I think, to my team. My team really they go above and beyond for everyone. They just want to like make sure everyone has the best experience when they hit our site, and are just we try to be very personalized, like one-on-one with all our customers. Like if somebody calls up, it doesn't go across the ocean, to a customer service rep. It's it's either Christine or Taya or Sierra or Kate, like right across from my desk. You know what I mean? Like I hear all the customers' calls that come in, which is I don't know, and I think that's really important. Like, and I go on social media all the time, and I talk with everyone and see what they like, see what they don't like, answer their questions, and I think it's just that one-on-one like interaction that really helps build that culture. And just listening to our customers and what they say and being open and there for them. I don't know.
I was gonna say I bet you guys learn a ton just from listening to your customers, whether it's a support call or something that they may want, or just their languaging. I think that there's so much value in that, and you sitting right across from your customer reps and stuff, and to hear that, and then maybe them to actually tell you exactly what was just said. I think that's so powerful. You have the pulse of your audience, of your following, like right there, right?
Oh, so, it's fantastic. It's crazy. We have like our own like study group. You know what I mean? It's like if we want to test something out, we can test it out to whoever's calling or whoever we can reach out to in the fan page. Plus, I mean, it's like another layer of our quality control. If we send something out that's subpar, I hear about it the day it hits the customer's mailbox.
No, now let me ask you this: how has it been because you started with the one product, right? You started with the one flavor,
right?
What was next, like in the pipeline? Like, did you guys have like, okay, now we're gonna do something else? What else could we offer? Like, where did that start to kind of come? And well, the other thing is too, and now that I'm thinking about it too, you have a recurring model here, right? So you must have some type of like subscription, or you got some type of like where people can just keep getting it to their mailbox. I mean, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's been working out great for us with the subscription platform that we got. Yeah, it's been fantastic. But yeah, we just had the one brand, and actually my whole vision was just to have one brand.
Sure.
One brand and one coffee. Keep it simple. But one day, I think it was in late 2014, this guy Blasco gave me a call, and he's like, I'm the manager for Zach Wild, and he has this brand called Valhalla Java, and right now it's just a concept, but we want to find a coffee company to make it for him. He's like, are you interested? And at the time I'm like, well, who is this guy, Zach Wild? So I'm like a huge music guy.
I know.
But a lot of guys on my team are like, so I went and looked him up, and he had like a huge following, millions of followers, and I'm like, wow, this is we're too small to pass up an opportunity this big.
Yeah.
So we're like, all right, yeah, let's see what we can put together. So we put together a blend for him, and we sell that on our site. And he gets a royalty, but he pushes it hard as well. But yeah, that was it was kind of like an experiment at the time. It's like, all right, we're gonna send out. He has. We know if we send out an email, we know like what a return is, right?
Sure.
We're like, he's got millions of followers. Once he sent this out, like this should blow up. We should be like set for life. And it was, man, we learned a lesson that day. So we had all this coffee ready to go, and and we finally announced the release, and he announces it on his social media and with his mailing list, and we hardly saw like a blip in sales. And we're like,
really?
All right. Like, that's strange. Like, why did that happen? And I don't know. I guess we kind of learned that day that, coffee drinkers or rock stars or people that follow a rock star are not necessarily going to buy coffee online. But, because we're, stubborn or persistent, we stuck with them. And it was more of a long-term play. And now the sales are like dynamite. We have a great relationship together. Valhalla Java is like, I think it's like the third or fourth like best-selling coffee on Amazon. So I mean it's a dynamite brand, and it tastes good. It's a lot of people's like favorite. A lot of people prefer it over Death Wish coffee. It's a little more on the flavorful side and less more on the like the strong side. Mm-hmm. So it has more flavor to it, but it's still very caffeinated.
But so what do you think turned that around for him or for that? Did you guys have a different marketing strategy, messaging? Like what? I'm just curious.
I think it was just persistent. It took a while for his fan base to really to catch on, and now like some of his fans are our most loyal customers.
Okay.
And yeah, it just took. It wasn't like things don't happen overnight. I guess what I'm trying to say is, people have to gain trust in switching coffee brands. Is like. Sure. I don't know, like switching beer brands for some people, or switching cigarette brands for some people. It's one of those, it takes time.
Yeah.
They're not going to do it overnight. They'll try it out, but.
Yeah, and for anyone that's listening that's like, who the heck is this Zach Wild guy? He was actually a guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne. I believe he still is.
Yeah.
I've
followed him. Tour together.
I've followed him for years, and it's funny. I could totally see this your coffee brand being aligned with him for sure. 100%. And it's funny. I would have thought the same thing. I would have been like, man, if you just make the announcement to his list, they'll probably buy it right up. But like you said, they just weren't conditioned for that. Now, if that was a beer, they might have, right? It might have been, that might have been differently because he's definitely like the beer guy, right? Like he's a hardcore guy,
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, persistence and being able to just keep pushing to his audience and then finally getting some traction. But yeah, that's pretty cool, man.
So it wasn't
getting
totally
a call
a numbers game, and I learned a lot of things online. You always think they're a numbers game, but there's a little more that goes into it sometimes.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But that's cool. So you've been handling that now since you said 2014.
Yeah,
so a little over 3 years.
2014. It's been a lucrative contract for both of us, and
nice.
Like I said, he's come out to the warehouse. We got to see him play. A show, and he gave us one of his guitars. So we got
nice.
It's a cool partnership we have, and
that's really cool. Awesome.
He pushes the brand well, which is most important to me.
Well, and that's key, right? He's looking at it for the long haul as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they're not just gonna be like, oh, we'll do it this one time. It's like they're giving you constant push, which I think is huge, and that's marketing, and that's usually a huge amount of money to have someone endorse your product like that over and over and over again.
Oh yeah,
so that's cool.
100%.
So that was like that next product. What kind of came next? What was in the next in part of your pipeline?
Yeah, so after that, we're just focusing on growth and continually driving more value for our customers and basically figuring out what works like online with online sales. And we weren't really focused on brick and mortar stores at all, so it was all just like direct to consumer. And then in 2015, we actually I was on Facebook and a advertisement for Intuit Small Business Big Game competition came across my news feed, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. It was a competition for small businesses, and basically the winner would win a Super Bowl commercial.
Okay.
So at the time I was like, yeah, let's apply for this. I think we can have a shot here. Like we have a pretty decent online following. so I had my team. We sat together. We filled out the application and joined their social network, and we kind of waited, and we had to actually drive people to our voting link initially.
Okay.
And at the time, I like kept telling everyone, I'm like, oh, we're gonna win this, but I was like kind of like, full. I was just kind of like putting forth like the positive vibe.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But yeah, all of a sudden one day they call out of the blue and they're like, hey, you guys made it to the top 10, and I'm like, wow, really? I'm like, so they, they made it to the top 10. I had to fly out. I think to fly out to. I don't remember if I flew out to San Jose at this point or not. Okay. Maybe they flew out to us. Yeah, that's what happened. The Intuit representatives and Bill Rancic, they like flew out to us and they're like, oh, we're interviewing all the top 10 businesses, and basically you guys just need to keep driving votes to your voting link and trying to get America to vote for you to represent small businesses in the Super Bowl. So okay, at this time, my team and I were psyched. Like we're doing everything we could think of to drive votes and to, I don't know, basically selling our souls to get these people to go to our voting link and vote. Like we're doing everything we could think of. We're asking my friends, our family. My mom's calling people in her yearbook. Or that is funny. I have a coffee shop. We're having everyone at the coffee shop vote. Or I'm running Facebook ads to drive people there. Basically anything and everything.
Anything you could do, you were making it happen. You knew that was going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a big deal if we could win. Yeah. But the companies in there were big companies too. Like, I mean, they were small businesses, but Chubby Shorts was one of the companies. Great guys, but they had a large following. They had over 1 million people following them at the time, and they had brand ambassadors on every college campus. So I was like, wow, these guys are going to roll through this with ease. But we stayed consistent, and we were trying to like post as much viral stuff as we can. We were going back through our like social history and finding the most like viral posts we had, and we were recycling them and throwing our voting link in there. It actually worked pretty well. We were trying to get influencers out there to push our voting link. Sure. We had, Lisa Kelly from Maestro Truckers. She's a friend of ours. Yeah, she really went above and beyond to help us win. And Todd Dewey from that same show. And Zach Wild helped out a ton, and we had a lot of help from our influencers. Oh, nice! And we finally they announced that we were in the top 3, so we're like, oh my god,
that's killing you, right?
Yeah, it's killing me. And then finally they came down one day and they came to my warehouse, and actually they came to my house first while I was sleeping. They woke me up, and they're like, hey, we're not going to tell you if you won. We're just doing this recording thing. And I was like, okay. And then we backed up to my warehouse, and when we got there, they announced that we won, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was like crying because we were working so hard at like this one. It's funny, we almost like forgot about sales, even though sales were going great at the time, just because we were totally focused on just driving as much traffic as possible.
Wow. So at that point though, they tell you win and all that stuff. So now what's the next step? Like you got to film the commercial and all that stuff.
Yeah,
too.
We had to film a commercial. They gave me 3 options for a potential commercial, and I got to pick the one I liked. And it was this Viking ship on the sea, and it was just didn't even make sense with coffee. But to me, it just looked like a blockbuster movie type of thing. So I'm like, let's go with this. And we went out, and they took me out, and we filmed it. And at the same time, we have 2 months to plan my business to make it. Basically make it able to succeed with 100 million people seeing it all at the same time. Yeah. So, I mean, we had to call our 3PL, make sure they were set and had enough people. We're on the Shopify network now. We had to call Shopify, let them know what was going on. I'll call Amazon, let Amazon know what was going on. And I had to ramp up production, hire some other roasters to help me out. And at the whole time, like, basically just plan all this out of the blue, because there's no case studies out there that are like, no, hey, this is what happens with a small business. Here's
the playbook, right? Yeah.
Right. There's no playbook, so I'm using like stats from back when we won, or when we had the Good Morning America ad. I'm using like their traffic stats and the conversion rate we had then to forecast what demand I thought we were going to have during the Super Bowl, and it sounded like a good idea. They don't correlate.
So then, okay, so now you guys got to be like on the edge of your seat. It's going to air. You guys are getting ready to air. I remember when it aired, I watched it because it was all big news too for us because I was local. Obviously where you're from and everything, and they were really telling everybody on the news and stuff that it was going to be happening, and it was, we had a local winner and all that stuff, so we were all rooting. But what was it like getting ready, and then all of a sudden your spot's there in front of those people for that blip of a commercial, right? I mean, it was it's kind of like a dream. Intuit, they were nice enough to have us out to San Francisco. They put us in they threw us this great party at the penthouse of this very tall building. I think we were on the 30th floor of this penthouse building, overlooking the Bay of San Francisco. We had ice sculptures, and just the craziest stuff you could ever think of. And, I think there's 25 TVs all around this penthouse suite, and my team was there with me and my family, and we had a war room set up with all our computers. Everyone, all the top execs from Intuit were there with us, and oh wow.
We're drinking, eating, and we're watching, just waiting for the third quarter, So the third quarter comes around, and they know when the commercial spot's going to come, and they gather us all around. And it really seemed like it was 30 seconds. It seemed like a second or 2 seconds to me because it went so quick.
Right.
And I'm not one of those guys that loves to be the center of attention, but I was definitely the center of attention that day.
Wow.
And, the commercial goes live. I'm watching my phone. I'm watching the traffic numbers spike. They went from they just kept jumping every second by 10,000 until it got to 150,000 people on the site at once.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, don't crash. I'm like, please
I was
don't
going to
crash.
say, oh my gosh, that is insane.
And it just kept going. That was, a great sales day. We had our best sales hour ever, actually, obviously. And everything went smooth. It almost went, and I don't know if it's luck or I don't know if it's preparation or a little bit of both, but everything went smooth. And all of our orders, our 3PL was ready. They were able to ship everything out within 2 to 3 days. Mass amounts of coffee. They had everything prepped and ready to go.
Wow.
And people are like, well, what was the craziest, most disappointing part or worst part? And I mean, for us, there really wasn't one. There really wasn't. I mean, I had one vendor who kind of underperformed, but other than that, everyone went above and beyond and knocked it out of the park, and there was no hiccups or nothing. It was just smooth sailing. We grew our customer base by 30%, and it never fell off. And we just continued. We were able to continue to grow throughout the year, and even into this year. We had our best first quarter this year that we ever had, even better than last year, even though we had the Super Bowl commercial. So it was pretty. I have a good team, and we were able to execute when we had to.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing here for people to understand and just listening to your story is you were prepared, but then everything went as planned, and that's great. That doesn't always happen, but then you had that momentum, and I think that the momentum, and you have customers. To me, when you get a customer and you can hold on to that customer, they're a long-term customer. So and they're going to tell people, and then that's just how that can spread for your business as far as how I see it. So I think that's why that growth is so much.
And we don't do everything right. I wish we did everything right. Some people out there are this guy's probably got it all figured out. 100%, I do not have it figured out. Every time I look at my website or my email or my auto replies or my social media marketing, there is vast amounts of room for improvement. Vast. And we do everything, I think, okay. And we're always trying to improve. I think we do well is we're always improving a little bit.
Yeah. Well, that's key, right? I mean, it's you and I think it's key also that you're in the mindset that you don't have it all figured out, and it's not all perfect, and you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. But it's all about, you're putting the customer first, and you're trying to make a better experience for them, and then you're trying to do the best that you can for them when they do receive your coffee. Because I mean, let's face it, if they get your coffee and it wasn't a good experience, they're not going to buy more.
Exactly.
Right. So you want to over deliver.
The whole team cares a lot. I think maybe that's the key. Everyone here, they care so much. They care about everything they do, and it's if they ever underperform, it's devastating.
Yeah. So. And so let me ask you, so how many's on the team right now? How many do you have on your team right now that's helping you through this, this business growth?
Yeah, we've been hiring like crazy. There's 22 of us now.
Okay.
And let's see, a year ago, I believe there was only 11 of us in a year. And a year
Oh,
after
wow.
that, there was only 6 of us. So we've been kind of doubling in staff size
Okay.
the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I think that's about right. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and I think, I mean, you're probably not hiring just to hire. You're hiring that, to make the company better and to make it flow better and all that stuff, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, a lot of the hiring we've been doing is on the production side right now. We're still trying to bring in the rest of that production that we outsourced out during the Super Bowl commercial. We a lot of we do outsource a lot, to just experts around the states. We work with a lot of third-party companies, so people are like, "Oh, you only have 22 people on your team," and I'm like, "Well, actually, like if you really think about it, I work with this guy to help me with my Google ads. I work with this person to help me with my thing. There's probably hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah.
My 3PL has 60 people there, like sending out our product every day. So we have a pretty big footprint, but at the same time, working directly as employees, there's only 22 of us.
Yeah. Okay. So before we wrap up here, I got 2 other quick questions. One of them is, how much in the business are you working? You know what I mean? Like, because
too much.
Well, I was gonna say, because some people be like, "Oh, he's got it made now. Now he's just sitting back and he's sipping a Mai Tai on the beach." You know what I mean? Like, not that I think that I think that would get boring after a week or so. But I'm just saying, like you just said, you're probably doing too much. Are you the kind of guy that always wants to have his hands in it?
I let things go to an extent, but at the same time, I'm very meticulous, and I like digging down into like the nitty gritty of everything. Like I'll go and I'll spot check our shipping costs, when I have time, just to make sure my 3PL is sending the products in the most efficient manner. Or I'll go through my mailing list and make sure that the subscribers we're getting are the subscribers that are the most valuable, and that we're just not getting sometimes people subscribe just to, like, I don't know, win a free coffee hat or something. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And if they're not valuable, I don't want to keep them on the list. So I'll spot check those. So yeah, I get nitty gritty in on some things, and I'm very hands on when it comes to the finances, because I was broke, very, very, very broke before, and every dollar that goes out the door, I feel the need to look at and to make sure it's a justifiable spend. And unfortunately, that takes up a lot of my time. It shouldn't, but it does.
No, I get
just because I'm very, I don't know, I have that, it's ingrained in me for some reason. I want to make sure that we're spending the right amount of money on things and not have wasteful spending. I think I read somewhere that a lot of businesses, though, they go under because they don't really recognize how much money's going out the door. And when I don't want that to happen with this business. So I question every dollar.
No, I get it, man. I get it. All right.
So yeah, I'm in it too much. I do a lot of stuff. I'm always like pulling reports and digging around and making everyone angry because I'm questioning everyone's decision.
Well, but it's your baby, right? I mean, it's that thing that you kind of got going, and you don't want to see it go down the tubes, and you want to also make sure that everything is going to be there for the future. So I get it, man. I get it. All right, last thing I want to talk about the podcast. So where did this whole idea come from? And then from there, like, what is a podcast on coffee? Like, help me understand that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's called Fueled by Deathcast. I think we're
love it.
25th episode. And I think we're already in the top 10. I think we're better than that now. Top 10, top 8% of all podcasts in terms of listeners. And it came about one day because actually we sponsored a podcast a while back, and it was going well, and it was through these friends we made at Comic-Con, and the podcast that they were running was I think it went under, or they had a disagreement. So I ended up hiring one of the guys that ran their podcast to come work for me full time, and they put together. And I'm like, yeah, let's get this podcast going. I want to be able to deliver more value to my customers. We have a loyal following, and I don't want them to have to wait till Thursday to get their email to like be able to get the coffee news, get to hear what we're doing, and I don't know, provide some type of value to them, because I think when it comes down to it, it's all about content and value.
Sure.
But one of the things I said, I'm like, I don't want this to be about coffee. But there's no reason it should be 100% about coffee. It should be about what our customers care about. So go on, find our customers out there, build a couple personas out. What do they like? What do they listen to? What do they, what are their interests? And let's gear it towards that. So we don't talk about coffee a lot, but we do get to interview some great people. We interviewed, her name's not coming to me off the top of my head, but she was the first, the last female astronaut.
Oh, wow.
We got to interview her. We got to interview lots of rock stars, a lot of artists, and some comic book writers and artists. And
oh, wow. So, I mean, so it's basically just, you guys jumping on and having some conversations with some interesting people that your audience would be interested in.
Yeah, that's part of it. And then we also we do have a coffee news section, and we do have a science segment. We have little segments here and there. Science segment. Trying to think of the other ones. We'll have like our joke of the day, it's pretty cool.
And about how many times does this come out a week, and how long is it?
It's about an hour, and it comes out once a week right now.
Once a week, okay.
I think we're going to be moving it to. We're building a studio out right now. It's going to be live on Facebook starting within the next 2 months. So we'll actually have like a two components to it. It'll be the live version and the recorded version.
Cool. Yeah. So you're going to basically record a Facebook Live as a podcast, but then you're gonna publish it as the podcast and do it as a live on Facebook.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, you can get basically two footprints, with just one pass in a sense.
Right.
Yeah. We actually do that with our podcast. Not all the time, but I'll do it on, like, we do something called TAS Power Hour. And it's where we talk about e-commerce stuff and everything on Fridays at 2:00. And then if those turn into be something I feel that my audience is going to be interested in, then I'll go, and it's not a bunch of us just rambling, then I'll turn that into a podcast episode. And people love them. I mean, it's like a round table, more discussion type thing. And it seems to work really well. So yeah, I know I get it, man. But that's really cool. And I think anyone that's listening and there's thinking to themselves like, well, I sell a garlic press, so how am I going to create a podcast about that? It could be about, like you said, your audience. Maybe it's women that are cooking that are also interested in stuff like Good Morning America stuff, right? Like all those different topics. You could have a podcast about that. It just happens that you guys do a lot of cooking.
100% correct.
Yeah. So I love that, because a lot of people think it's got to be about the thing, and yours isn't really about the thing. Yes, you'll splash a little bit of that in there, and obviously you guys can push a promotion if you want to, or any of that stuff, because you'll have the listenership. But yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the brand, and in this case, you've done it. And how many episodes are you at right now?
I should know this. I think like between 25 and 30.
Okay, nice. Yeah, so you guys been out there publishing a little bit. That's great. That's awesome.
I think we just started at the end of December. So
yeah, that's good. That's really good. Yeah, awesome. So I'm going to have to tune into that show.
Check it out.
Yeah, you're going to have a new listener right here, or anyone else out there. So if anybody wants to listen to that, what's it called again? Fueled by Death Wish?
Fueled by Deathcast, actually.
Oh, Deathcast.
Fueled by Deathcast, yes.
Okay, cool.
It's on all the major podcast syndication.
Yeah, and I'll link it up in our show notes and stuff. So if anyone wants to check it out, I'll have a link that can go on over and check it out, and leave you guys a review and some feedback over there on iTunes if you're listening to it on over there. But yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, Mike, I think that's going to wrap it up, man. I mean, this was awesome. I knew your story, but not all of the nitty gritty. And it was really cool to kind of hear the behind the scenes, and also even leading up to those major, those announcements, like on Good Morning America, and then, the commercial, and it's like what the after effects were. And I also like it that,
those morning shows are powerful. If anyone, any of the listeners can get on a morning show, they have the bang for the buck with those are bar none better than anything else.
And I mean, but for you, it was kind of like they reached out to you because there must have been some buzz going on around social media, or a blogger or whatever, right? So you never know who's going to take the content that you published and actually consume it and then turn it into something. It's funny, my CPA, I had him come on and do a couple of spots for e-commerce sellers, and then a news station contacted him and wanted to put him on the news and do a whole spot on CPA stuff.
That's awesome.
You know, it's just the way it happens, right? So you can't think that everything is going to be that, but you have to just, if you put the content out there, people can actually consume it, and then you never know who's gonna actually get, maybe get into the hands where they're gonna turn you onto a major network like you did.
Right. Yeah. You don't need PR companies anymore. You just need to put out great content.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, if it's that good, it'll get discovered.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's the link for people to go on over to Death Wish? Give them that.
Yeah, it's deathwishcoffee.com.
Check that out. If anyone wants to get in touch with you or the podcast, we can link that up in the show notes. Do you have any way for people to get a hold of you personally?
Yeah, if you want to email me, you can email Mike Brown at deathwishcoffee.com.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll link all this stuff up on the show notes as well. Mike, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy, and I wish I would have known earlier before I moved. We could have actually had that cup of coffee together. Maybe when I come back. Maybe when I come back and visit, we can definitely do that. I'll definitely I'll let you know when I'm heading to town. But yeah, man, I just want to thank you again. Is there any little tidbits that you'd like to give anyone that's maybe just starting in this whole e-commerce space, or just even starting to get a brand up off the ground? What would be like something you would have told yourself going all the way back those years?
Oh man, I probably just this might sound like corny. You hear it all the time, but stay with it. There's so much opportunity out there right now, and it's funny. Even as more and more sellers enter the market, you think the market share would be getting smaller and smaller, but it's really not. It's the market share is getting larger, and there's just more opportunities, and there's easy ways to. You don't have to be a web designer anymore to get a website out there.
Right.
You don't have to understand SEO. You don't have to understand marketing. You don't need any of that right now. Like, there's so many blogs and resources out there that can do it for you, where you can just piece together 3 or 4 great companies, and you don't even need a product.
Right.
There's these sites out there where you could basically have them create a product, drop ship it for you, and you're done. There's no reason everyone shouldn't have an e-commerce company, in my opinion, just because they've made it so easy with unlimited opportunities. You can hire a designer to design a T-shirt, have another company create the T-shirt, and ship it to your customer, and you don't even have to, touch anything.
Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah, I really, really agree with you 100%. Man, to me, a lot of people say, well, the market's getting more saturated. Well, it's also creating more opportunity to me. There's new ways of marketing. There's old ways of marketing. They all still work. And to me, it's just getting easier to go out there and leverage these different platforms that allow us to do so.
For the experienced sellers, focus.
Yeah,
I say that
right.
For the new sellers, there's tons of opportunity. For the sellers that are in the market, just focus on something and just hammer it.
Focus on what's working and keep focusing there, right? Yep. I mean, come on. All right, Mike. Well, hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. We'll definitely be in touch for sure. Like I said, if I do head back to New York, which I'm supposed to be, maybe in the fall, I'll give you a shout out. Maybe we'll get together for that cup of coffee. And I just want to thank you again, man. I really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, swing by the warehouse. I'm always here.
All right, Mike. Thank you, bud.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so that's a wrap. That was pretty darn awesome. And I want to thank Mike once again for taking time out of his busy schedule to come on and hang out with us and really share his story. And I think you have to always go back to people that are, or that appear to be successful, didn't start out being successful. Understand that there's been things along the way that have gotten them to where they are. We can have the vision of where we want to go, but there's going to be things that happen. Think about if you take a road trip. You take a road trip, you get a flat tire. What do you have to do? You got to pull over on the side of the road and you have to change the tire, or you have to call someone to change the tire, depending on if you can change a tire or not. You get what I'm saying, right? You just, sometimes you have to adjust, you have to pivot, and that's exactly what he did, and he still continues to do. I mean, even listening to him say that he got Zach Wilde, a very, very well-known guitarist in the industry. I mean, I personally know how popular he is. Some of you may or may not know. I mean, Ozzy Osbourne, some of you may or may not know. But I mean, a guitarist of his, I mean, that's like big time in the guitar world. And he's a huge guitar guy. So, I mean, he's got a huge following of his own that he's created his own brand. And you would think that all he needs to do is mention something and it's going to work, and it didn't. And then they fine-tuned a few things and they got it to work. But again, it didn't work out of the gate, and you would have thought it would have, right? So just understand, I want you guys to take away, number one, that every single one of us start at zero in a sense. And then from there, in order to kind of see what the next move is, we got to actually do something. We have to take action, as you guys always hear me say. All right. And I just want you to listen to interviews like this that I did with Mike and others and just learn from them. Be inspired, be motivated, but more importantly, take those lessons learned and put them into action. All right. So you might want to bookmark this one or come back and listen to this one again. I think it's really chock full of goodness. I really, truly do. And I'm going to be actually going back to New York here in the next month or so. I may reach out to Mike and see if we can have a cup of that Death Wish coffee together. Maybe I'll get him on an audio or a video, and we can maybe see where he's at now, see what's happening, see what's exciting. So guys, that is a wrap. I want to remind you guys, if you want to download the show notes, the transcripts, anything that we mentioned there, the links, if you want to go check out Death Wish Coffee, all the links will be over at theamazingseller.com/419. You can go check that out. His new podcast that they've launched, or new, it's not as new now as when this is airing, but it's a newer podcast. Probably go check that out too. It's good. And yeah, that's it, guys. That's what I got for you. So hopefully you guys are inspired, motivated, but also ready to go out there and do your thing. So guys, remember, as always, I'm here for you. I believe in you, and I am rooting for you. But you have to. Come on, say it with me. Say it loud. Say it proud, say it with some energy, because we've got some coffee running through our blood today. Take action. Have an awesome, amazing day, and I'll see you right back here on the next episode.